This episode of Inside the Architect and Designer Awards is sponsored by Design in Detail. For more than 15 years, Design in Detail has been the go-to resource for designers, offering an exclusive array of furniture, fabric, wall covering, lighting, and carpet. At the showroom in Maplewood, every corner is filled with inspiration. Design in Detail's commitment to excellence means they only carry the very best vendors in the industry, ensuring that every piece in the collection sparks your creativity. Whether you're designing a cozy corner or an entire room, let Design in Detail be your starting point. Visit designindetailstl.com to get started today. Julie Abner, welcome to Inside the Architect and Designer Awards mini-series. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. You as well.
And congratulations on your award in the Modern Interior Design category. I'd love to start with finding out from you a little bit about the house itself, the style, the era, maybe, where it's located.
Sure. Well, the house is located in Ladue. And the house is new construction. Okay. So the client of mine, they knew they wanted to relocate, but they wanted to stay within the area that they were currently living in. And they saw this house going up and they thought, this is the perfect spot for us. We want to start the next phase of our life. Our two grown children are out living their best life. And so she was really excited to see this house come up on the market and took advantage of it. So it's right up her alley. It's black and white. It's neutral. She's, very modern aesthetic. So it's just a really good fit for them, and they've been really happy there.
Was this an existing client or a new client for you?
Existing. It's a really great story because we've known each other for over 20 years. Wow. And so it's interesting because we had a very quiet period, but whenever I first met her, I was a young designer just starting out, and she reached out to me and said, I don't know if you remember me, but I would love to reconnect. I have this great house that we're moving into. So it just really kind of flowed from there. So it was great.
Very cool. And what did she convey to you about what she wanted in this particular room?
What she was really looking for was a very luxe, sophisticated, look for this room. I think for her, modern aesthetic is very important, but she doesn't want it to be, I think, sterile or cold. She really wanted a warm room. Okay. And so I felt like a deep, dark, moody color was just perfect for this space because it is on the front part of the house. And so it's at the entry and it's very prominent to the home because it's across from the dining room. So when you're enjoying dinner, you see this space. So I thought it was really important to make it very dramatic, but approachable and just visually pleasing when you walked into the room.
And were you working around existing architectural elements like the built-ins or the window seat, or did you build those in?
No, actually those were already designed within the architectural set. But it was interesting because when I walked into the room, I told my client that there's a disconnect here. It felt like it was a great feature, but it didn't really feel like the room was connected. It didn't feel purposeful. It felt like, okay, we're going to check a box. We're going to put a window seat in. We're going to put a built-in in. And so I really wanted it to look like we purposefully designed the room with those in mind.
And how did you do that? How did you accomplish that?
The way that I felt like it was accomplished was really due to the fact of the deep color, like I mentioned before. And then also I felt like the furniture layout also helped, I think, connect those pieces as well. Because on the other side, what we're not seeing is there's a wet bar, and that's the great room.
Okay.
And so those two built-ins really kind of filled in a nook. But the space between them just felt like, why is it there? Why is there not more bookcase and shelving there? And so the artwork, I think, helped with the sofa being placed underneath that to really make that feel connected. And then the window seat, I felt like adding wall sconces
Those are
was
really
important
pretty.
too. And they're beautiful. And they just add this little glimmer. And it's not really meant to be, you know, exit or task lighting. It was really meant to be just an ambient light. And so whenever you're in this room enjoying it at night, there's just a soft glow and you can change the levels in the room.
The
With
dimmable
dimmers.
features are
Exactly.
so
It's
key,
so important.
right?
It really is.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And so how does the homeowner use this space? I know that the piano is a centerpiece of the room. Is that the intention? Is it a music room?
Correct.
Or?
It is a music room. That's correct. And it's not an overly large room. It's just over, 220 square feet. So it's just that we wanted to make sure that the piano didn't dominate, but yet it was a focal point and very important to her. But we also need to, bring in those elements that I just mentioned, and then also create enough seating for that room to be purposeful and functional, and for them to really just be able to sit in there and, have a conversation, have a glass of wine. Her husband enjoys collecting bourbon. And that's a room that he enjoys having a glass.
And the furniture is really cool. And I love the fabrics in particular. What can you tell me about the selection that you made?
Thank you. The fabrics are really kind of close to my heart because I think that's really what sets the tone. And I felt like with the kind of moody atmosphere, we also needed to have a little punch and a little vibrancy and the luxe factor. So I made sure that all the fabrics had a certain texture. So the satin element and the soft, subtle metallics I thought were important within the fabrics. So the swivel chair, in fact, was kind of the launching pad.
Okay.
Because we really loved that swivel chair for next to the piano. And we love that little element of gold. So those colors within that swivel chair fabric really kind of set the tone along with the pink color of the room.
And I do love the way those gold tones obviously complement the beautiful artwork, the Ted Collier piece that you have above the sofa. Did you help select that artwork? Did the client do that? How did that happen?
So the client actually had always had an eye out for one of his pieces. And so it really just kind of took a life of its own once she saw where we were going with the room. It just really felt like she knew that piece would be the perfect element. And so, no, I have to give her all the credit. She knew from the start that she really wanted one of his pieces, and he's so talented. And so I'm really proud to say that his piece is in one of my designs.
Very cool. And I love the light fixture, the pendant in the room, or the chandelier, I should say. How do you go about making a selection like that, which is a statement piece in and of its own, with the wonderful artwork, obviously the baby grand, so that all those pieces aren't competing against one another, but complementing each other?
Right, because with all those elements, we have to make sure that everything flows and blends and is a good complement to each other, like you were saying. And so I like to use a digital presentation whenever I'm working. And so basically I'll take elements, the photographs from the manufacturer's websites, and as I'm selecting, I will put those onto the digital presentation. So not only is it a working presentation for me, but it's also something that I forward to my client. And during the COVID era, it was invaluable because it was just an easy, translative way to show my designs that my client could understand and visualize. And so that's really, I feel like, the way that I can really kind of understand how things are relating to each other is building those components together and seeing them full picture. But again, just when there's something that I find and it speaks to me, I really try to find a way, to bring it into the room because, we have to love it, right? Absolutely. And I feel like if we're just forcing something, then it's not right. It's not right. So we have to love it. And on a personal level, right? Whenever we're shopping for ourselves, that when you see something and you want that, you're going to make it work.
Where do you like to shop for furniture or the decor? Where are some of your favorite places?
Oh my gosh. It's really hard to say that I have one favorite And that's what I love about being a designer, is because we have access to everything. And we have creative minds that we're always working with and collaborating with. So I feel like there's not one, I'm using this maybe as a scapegoat, but I don't really feel like I do have one go-to place.
There are so many options.
There are so many, but I find that ironically, Anthropologie has some of the greatest little accessories that are, they're usually crafted by artisans, or they're just unique, or they're just fun little pretty elements. So, I would have to say that ironically, sometimes Anthropologie just has like the perfect little something for a room.
Never know what you're going to find.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
What would you say was the biggest challenge for you as the designer in this particular space?
I would say knowing that the baby grand piano was a very strong element in the room, and it is, of course, a larger element. That was probably my challenge, actually, because I felt like I didn't want the room to just feel like the piano was just the only element. It had to really kind of make everything, blend together. And so I felt like I didn't want that room just to be overwhelmed by the piano. So I feel like we accomplished that. Whenever you walk into the room, it just feels like a room you want to be in. And it is my client's favorite room, which means so much to me.
So nice.
It is. It's really wonderful. And she tells me all the time they go in there at night and they just want to sit in that room. It just is, enjoyable to them. They just love being in that space.
That must make you feel really, really good.
It really does.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me, because not only do we want the room to be beautiful, we want our clients to enjoy them. So that means a lot for me to know that.
And I know that you, in the work that I've seen of yours, you obviously work in many different styles: traditional, transitional, modern.
Yes.
Do you like working in a modern style? Is that something that is very appealing to you?
It is. It is. And I do, in fact, enjoy all design disciplines. I love all elements of design. And I feel like that is one of the elements that I bring to the table, is that I just don't have a modern sensibility. I can bring a traditional element in, or meet in the middle with the transitional approach. But my foundation was in modern design when I first...
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So when I first came to St. Louis, when I moved from Chicago, I worked for a designer that's the only design aesthetic she worked in was modern. So I feel like my foundation is always there. But I think for my traditional and transitional clients, what I bring to them is just that baseline of that modern aesthetic that is just tailored. It's in the details. It's in the subtle factors and features within the space. So I don't really like being pegged into one element or design. I feel like I just enjoy all of it so much. I just don't want to only do one.
Right.
So, but I just do enjoy working with the modern aesthetic too, though.
What has you inspired right now? Is there a project that you're working on that's particularly exciting to you at the moment?
Well, really what's inspiring me right now is I just love the fact that I have clients come back to me after a year, after working with them for a year, and then 10 years have maybe gone by, but they reach back out and say, okay, Julie, I'm ready. I'm ready to do either a total new refresh, or, hey, we're building a new home, or, hey, we've moved. I even have one client, and she's so much fun. She texts me and she says, Julie, I really want my husband, and, I really want to move. I really want to move so we can work together again.
Oh.
And so I'm really fortunate to have a client relationship that I feel like we connect at a level where we can come back to working relationship again in 10 years, 5 years, and it's just we pick right back up. And so that means a lot to me.
Do you have a specific project in your bucket list that you would just love to do someday?
Well, I feel like having that farmhouse would be a lot of fun, because that's where clients can be a little bit more whimsical, or They can just kind of be a little bit more free with their decision making because it's somewhere that they go and take their family. And I love to garden. I love to be out I love to be out in nature. So I feel like that is my kind of calming, safe space so I feel like if I can do that for a client and work with them on that level, that would be fun too.
My husband always tells me that I need a country house.
Yes.
I mean, not that I'm going to get one
Yes.
anytime soon or ever,
Yes.
but he feels like I bring in that element quite a bit into the house. And he's like, I think you just need to have like a country house.
Right. We all do. I feel like we all should have one.
Right. And a garden. Yes.
Exactly.
For designers who are thinking about entering the Architect and Designer Awards this year, what advice do you have for them?
I would say that it can, in my opinion, sometimes be intimidating because you're thinking there's so much talent in St. Louis. Where will my project fit in? But it's just so much fun to see your client enjoy the process with you. And whether you're a winner, or not, whether you win first place or not, it's just knowing that you're recognized for all the hard work that you put into it and how much enjoyment your client sees you getting that recognition. And that means a lot to me. And so I feel like designers should always be willing to put their work out there and share it with others. And I love the opportunity to, network with, my colleagues. And there's a lot of work in St. Louis, and I feel like there's, plenty out there for all of us, and we all have our little niches. But it's fun to come together as professionals and see each other's work and celebrate with them. So that's what I really enjoy about the awards.
I love that. Well, thank you, Julie, so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Inside the Architect and Designer Awards, sponsored by Design in Detail. Visit designinDetailSTL.com.